and stream at the same time. Let me know when we're all set. I see the streaming. I see the recording. Excellent. Hi, everybody. It's 6:30 on February 25th, 2021. We are here for our open session of the North Clackamas School District Board meeting. Super excited to have you all here. Thank you for taking your time of your day to spend it with us. There's lots of things you could be doing, but we're happy that you're spending it with us. So I'm going to call this meeting to order. We'll begin with our native land acknowledgement, spoken by our Vice Chair, Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Ford. We acknowledge the land in which we sit, in which we call the North Clackamas School District. It rests on the traditional and indigenous lands and village sites of the native peoples of the Kalapuya, Chinook, Molalla, and Clackamas. We take this opportunity to offer gratitude for the ability to learn, work, and be a community on this land. And we offer our thanks to the original caretakers of the region. We recognize the historic policies of colonization, genocide, relocation, and assimilation that affected Indigenous and Native families, both past and present, and that will affect those in the future, and honor the resilience and revitalization of our Indigenous and Native communities. We pay our respects to the elders, both past and present, who have been the stewards of this land throughout the generations.
Thank you. Just for clarity and for the record, we do have 6 of the 7 board members here. Tori McVeigh, Director Tori McVeigh, it will be in and out with this video as he's had to travel for family purposes, but he is in attendance, and so we appreciate him being here even though he had to travel. Life happens and we still make it work, so appreciate you guys. We'll start off with our minutes from February 11th. I'll go ahead and open the floor. We need to approve those minutes.
I move that we approve minutes.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. Any discussion needed? Seeing none, do I have any opposition? Anyone opposed to approving the minutes? Please speak now. Excellent. We'll go ahead and pass that. The minutes from February 11th have been approved unanimously for the 6 board members that are here. Next on our agenda is our consent agenda. Includes 4 items: employment changes, contract extensions, including non-renewals, policy revisions, and CESD local service plan for 2021 and 2022. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Mrs. Bauer, I move approval of the consent agenda, employment changes, contract extensions, non-renewals, policy revisions. There were 2 guidance program, counseling program, and graduation exercises, and then the CESD local service plan 2021-22.
Excellent. Properly moved. Do I have a second?
Villalobos, second.
Excellent. Thank you. Been properly moved in second. Any discussion needed? Seeing none. Anyone opposed to these consent agenda items being passed, the motion passing, please speak now. Seeing none, motion passed. 6 out of the 7 board members that are in attendance. Next on our agenda is our community request. Go ahead and read our statement from our policy BDDH. Anyone wishing to speak before the board, either as an individual or as a member of a group, may do so by following the district's guidelines for public comment. These printed guidelines are available at each board meeting. Any individual desiring to speak will submit their name, address, and the group, if any, that is represented, and a speaker should give their name and the group, if any, that is represented, and should limit his or her presentation to 3 minutes. Time may be extended at the discretion of the board chair. Speakers may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs that are of a concern to them. The board is restricted from hearing and will not consider complaints regarding any individual district, staff member, or any person connected with the district. At this time, we have 3 people on our agenda, and I know Cindy will introduce them. But just know that during your 3 minutes, I will go ahead and put this up when you have 1 minute left. And at that time, you just know you have 1 minute. I will cut you off. It's not because I don't like you. It's because we have lots of things that we need to go over today, and we want to make sure that we stay within our time constraints. And you always have the ability to submit your documents in writing. Cindy, who do we have this evening?
We have Julie Scarfall. Julie, go ahead and unmute your mic and you may begin.
Thank you. Many parents are afraid to speak at meetings. Either they don't like public speaking or their children don't want them to share their stories since their names are posted. So last week I said if any parents wanted me to tell their stories anonymously, I would share those at the board meeting. And I got quite a few responses. So I just wanted to share some of those with you. In one family, both parents are essential workers in a very high-risk environment, and they've worked in that environment for almost a year without vaccination. Both of their kids were left home alone all day because the parents needed to work, and both are very much struggling with CDL. One doesn't get teacher feedback during his work, and so he turns it in, gets the feedback back, and then has to do the work over again, which is frustrating. His parents try and catch the work at home at night to help him with that, and that turns into a lot of fighting. The other student has been found cheating on many assignments, and the parents have addressed that, and he said most kids in his class also cheat. And the stress that this family is under because of the misery that their two kids feel under CDL has put a lot of undue stress on the family, who's already had to work a whole year with their lives, in jeopardy day to day from their jobs. One third grader was always very happy, a very flexible child who loved learning. Since December, he's changed, and most mornings he has meltdowns before CDL even starts. He says he hates it. He frequently roams around, unable to sit in front of the screen, and complains daily of his eyes hurting, even with the computer glasses. Under CDL, one secondary student became a different person, unenthusiastic, depressed, and irritable. After their child would become afraid their child would become another suicide statistic, they enrolled her in private school. Because her parents work, they cannot take her to school, so she walks on busy streets with no sidewalks. Obviously, her parents are concerned every day for her safety in doing that, but to them, this was a safer situation than CDL was for their daughter. One 8-year-old was the happiest, most joyful little girl, holding their pain and fear and confusion has been a lot this week. She was the most joyful little girl you could have ever met. She loved school and loved life. Months of being isolated, staring at a screen, being left on mute has left her so anxious and depressed that she's now in counseling at 8 years old. She has a loving and secure home, but being out of school has completely changed her. One middle schooler really struggled with switching between synchronous and asynchronous. She had headaches and was stressed trying to fix all the tech issues that would come up every day. In September, she went into complete school refusal mode, and her parents had to unenroll her and are now trying to homeschool her. One senior in high school loved school until last spring. He now feels that school is pointless. He's afraid to go to college in the fall because he's wondering if he's ready, because the level of education that CDL has provided him has been so lacking. He has no adult outside of his family to know him, encourage him in taking the next step in life. One Happy Valley parent works in a local PICU. They are seeing suicide attempt after suicide attempt. She said, some patients have said that they've struggled with suicide ideation for a while, but most have said it only started in the spring or fall, right when the schools closed. All parents share that they are confused as to why their kids have been left to suffer when science says schools are safe to reopen. For over 2 months now, it has now been entirely up to the board to provide in-person option. I know earlier your hands were tied with the RSSL requirements and the metrics, but they're not tied anymore. And it's been very concerning to parents that some board members have purposely taken steps against science, making it harder to get kids to return to the classroom. I know Mr. Utterback has worked hard and will propose a hybrid option for K through 12 tonight. And I would encourage you to think of these families and the many more families as you hear that plan. And I would really encourage you over the next couple of weeks to work on adopting that plan to get these kids back in the classroom that they desperately need to be in. Thank you.
Thank you, Julie. Next up, we have Representative Janelle Bynum. Representative Bynum, go ahead and unmute your mic and you may begin.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone, or good evening. I'm State Representative Janelle Bynum, and I represent House District 51, which is North Clackamas, Damascus, Gresham, Boring, East Portland, and Happy Valley. And I am coming to you both as a representative and as a mom this evening. I have two children, one at Happy Valley Middle School and one at Happy Valley Elementary School. And I just wanted to share that on behalf of my family and the students that are really missing school, as you know, education is a priority for me and my family, and my children are not doing well in distance learning at all. Part of it is because my husband and I work and we maintain full-time jobs, and we thrive on the structure that school provides. It structures our day, it structures the children's day. And what we've had to do is employ outside help for our children. One attends an English tutoring every Wednesday to get the one-on-one help that he needs. And then we just kind of got fed up and signed the kids up for Mathnasium. And that costs, I don't remember, it's like $200 a month or something like that. And we decided that even though that wasn't a part of our planned budget, we felt that our kids were falling behind. And that was just money that we were going to have to reallocate and spend because their education was non-negotiable. So my ask to you is to move forward with gusto, with all hands on deck in terms of getting our kids back in school. I understand that vaccines are coming. People are able to access them. But I cannot stress to you enough how important it is to reopen our schools safely. So thank you for allowing me to testify tonight as your representative and as a mom. I care deeply about the kids of North Clackamas. And for me, their education is non-negotiable. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Brianna Neely.
Hi. I wrote today in hopes that you guys will do better for our kids. Our kids are struggling with distance learning, as the other people have said so far. The isolation from peers and using Google as a teacher and limiting their learning day are just a few of the obstacles. My kids personally are not motivated. They just race to get their work done and move on with video games or whatever it is for the day. And that's very unlike them normally. There have been tears from my children and myself as we try to navigate through the distance learning. I have witnessed behavior changes in my children, depression and anxiety in all three. I have one in each level, elementary, middle, and high school. The kids need to be in schools, and COVID's not going away anytime soon. We have to make these small adjustments to be able to deal with it as it continues in our lives for years to come, probably. We cannot keep our kids on a CDL path for years, though. The effects are too damaging and are longer lasting than we know at this point. The school district needs to work harder at getting our students back. NCSD needs to utilize nearby school districts that are having their kids implement plans and having their students back. Schools in other states potentially that have had children back in schools for a good amount of time, and the work groups that were initially coordinated when COVID hit to create plans of action. I have several friends that have pulled their kids from NCSD and moved them into private schools, which are in person. And this is just a growing inequality in our community, that those people that can afford to do so are moving their kids into a better school. There seems to be barriers being created by the district adding metrics above what the state and federal guidelines are suggesting, and kind of backpedaling on original plans to return in person. And the focus must be on our kids. We must be supportive of what they need in order to learn effectively. And distance learning does not work for all. So I beg of you to push for ways to get all grade levels back in person in some capacity in the very near future. Please do better for our kids. Thank you.
Cindy, was that all of our community requests?
Yes, Chair, that is it.
Perfect. Thank you, everyone, for presenting today. We appreciate your time. Next on the agenda is NCEA Featured Educator. Andrea, I see that you have turned on your camera. You're ready to go.
Well, it looks like I want to be down here. Okay, we want to use this camera. All right, fine. There we go. We'll use this camera. Good evening, Chair Ford. Nice to see you.
Good to see you too.
And all the directors. For the month of February, in celebration of Black excellence during Black History Month, members were asked to recognize and nominate an educator of color who demonstrates distinction in their chosen profession. 10 educators were nominated. Teresa Just, special education teacher at Oregon Trail. Darnell Williams, structured learning center teacher at Mount Scott. Desi Nicodemus, 5th grade teacher at Lot Whitcomb. Jamelia Bird, special education teacher at Lot Whitcomb. Jessie Dobson, social studies teacher at Rock Creek Middle School. Leslie Nelson, counselor at Milwaukee High School. Linda Lim, school psychologist. Michelle Doyle, talent acquisition and retention specialist for the district. Brian Halton, IA extraordinaire at Brown Middle School. And Misha Nova, 3rd grade teacher at Lot Whitcomb, who is a recipient of the NCEA Educator of the Month Award for February. Misha was also nominated in February of last year by her colleague, music teacher Dana Brown, who wrote, "Misha is an excellent teacher in many regards. She's been a mentor for students of color support group for all the students here and has had a great impact on their development. I have learned a lot myself from her. Misha is bound for great things in her teaching career." NCSD instructional coaches Kelly Johnson and Brittany Lopez nominated Misha for the excellent work they see her do as a teacher leader. They said, "Misha is an inspiration to all educators. This year, she has been creating and providing language arts lessons for all 3rd grade teachers as part of the language arts team. And she models being a teacher who thinks about the individual strengths that each student brings. Last year, she volunteered to be a math studio teacher and opened up her classroom so others could learn and grow in their own math practice. This year, she and the Whitcomb team are working with Teachers Development Group to continue to bring the best math practices to their students during CDL. She gives a voice to each and every student in her math classroom and builds up their math identity. She respects multiple perspectives and brings a balanced sense of advocacy for her own brilliant ideas. She positively connects with the Whitcomb families and the greater Whitcomb community. Sean Martinez, who teaches 1st grade at Lot Whitcomb, nominated her by saying, "Misha's impact has spread beyond her own classroom. She advocates for and helps staff talk about and address issues related to racism and identity in the classroom, curriculum, within our own thinking, and in our interactions with our community and peers. She comes alongside other educators and staff as a mentor, teacher, and friend. Misha teaches students, specifically students of color, that they have a voice and finds ways to help them amplify their voice. She makes sure that students feel seen, valued, and part of a community, our community. It is an honor to work and learn from Misha." And finally, Annie Schlegel, behavior interventionist at Lot Whitcomb, wrote, "Misha has been a pivotal part of moving our equity work forward and pushes staff thinking around what's possible with students. She facilitates direct instruction around race and identity with her 3rd graders that allows for rich conversation and learning. She shares her own story and the stories of others to build positive racial identity for our Black and biracial students. Misha served on the Fontes and Pinnell language arts team for 3rd grade, and she pushed to have characters with darker skin tones recognized sooner in the year so their stories and identities were in the forefront. This not only impacts students at our school, but across the district. Student voice informs her instruction. She wants students to see themselves honored and reflected. She wants their voice to be heard." It is with great admiration and respect that the North Clackamas Education Association recognizes Misha Nova as the February Educator of the Month. And Misha, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much. I do have a couple things to say. First off, I want to say thank you to everyone. In the month of celebrating Black excellence and being a Black woman, I feel very honored This is my 5th year in the district and my 5th year teaching in general, and my love of teaching continues to grow even through the trying times of CDL. I could not do what I do without the continuous support of everyone at Lot Whitcomb. I'm unique in having the opportunity to work with people who put race, equity, and identity in the forefront of our practice and who support our students, families, and communities in this learning. My students are the ones who inspire my teaching. I want each and every single one of them to know they have a voice and to know their voice has value to everyone in all aspects of their learning and their being. My passion is teaching my students about identity, race, equity, and different cultures. In these conversations, we are all learners, so we all have the opportunity to learn from each other and share and grow. My students always contribute their whole selves. They wonder, they ask questions, and they are learning to be mindful of the many perspectives within our class. I am very grateful to have these conversations with the support of my students, families, colleagues, and so many more throughout our communities. My hope is our district continues to push all staff to have these conversations and participate in these conversations with each other and with our students to really continue and grow this important work. I also hope we hire more people of color who look like me. The benefits are endless for children and adults, and the time is now. Again, thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good stuff. Board, I'll do a round robin if you'd like to make a comment on this wonderful individual's recognition. Director Perez.
Congratulations, Misha. And I just want to say, when you said giving every child a voice in your class and how their voice adds value, that really touched me because I think, unfortunately, there are some kids who don't get to have that voice for various reasons. So that, to me, is everything, having a voice and being allowed to share your voice and add value. And you encourage that in all your children. And I think that's awesome. And, it really touched me to hear that. And congratulations again, and keep up the great work, Misha.
Thank you so much.
Excellent. Director Benaloga.
Yes, thank you, Chair Ford. I also want to congratulate you on all the wonderful accolades from the people around you for being nominated. I think that we can tell that you're a nurturing warrior, that you're out there for your kids, but that you also feel for them in your heart. And I think that's just such a wonderful gift. I love to see that your enthusiasm is still growing and that you're growing with North Clackamas. So congratulations and continue the good work. And we're very, very fortunate to have you.
Thank you so much.
Director McVeigh, are you able to speak? Would you like to speak?
I am, and I'm going to use the word nurturing warrior again. That is an awesome accolade. So go Rao, and thank you for all that you're doing for our kids, for all of the kids. It's important work, and we so appreciate you. And you had, I won't say it's a competition, but to be recognized among those names that were previously mentioned, they're all great, and you're amazing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Director Way.
Hi, Misha. Thank you so much for showing your determination and your commitment, especially for the kids and the students that you look after. I know that it is a very, very challenging time right now for many of our educators, just to be in the profession and to be in this pandemic and, have hearts for every single one of your kids. And so that just came across just so clearly to me. And wow, 5 years is a long time, I think, in just all the current times that we're in, to be in education. And I just wish you many, many more years. You are just a bright and shining star in our district. And I also really want to take what you said to heart about getting teachers of color and really centering your voices and your experiences, because we need to focus on that as a district. We need to focus on that as a state. Thank you so much for bringing that. And I know that I will be definitely working on that. So thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Director Bauer.
Congratulations, Misha. I'm very impressed with all the great words and your continued energy and happiness that just comes from seeing you here on camera. Thank you so much for choosing us. And thank you for, I hope, staying with us even longer. I can tell, you know, you're forming those strong relationships, and that's the key. But I also like that you said we are all learners. We learn from you and your kids learn from you, and it's we're all learning together, and there's so much all children can learn from you. So thank you so much for being that warrior.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Cool. And I'll close by saying congratulations, Misha. Well done. I'm super excited for everything that you said, because it just means that the kids have another fighter on the ground. And kids all need and deserve advocates like you. Aristotle once said, to educate just the mind and not the heart is not education at all. And what I hear is that you educate the mind and the heart. So I appreciate you balancing that out. Continue to do what you're doing. Not all days will be winning days, but all days will definitely be fruitful days. So congratulations, and keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you, everyone, so much.
Cool. Excellent. Next on the agenda, we have a presentation from Milwaukee High School. Is Petra introducing?
Yes, I am.
Hello, how are you?
Hello, good evening, directors. I'm really excited to introduce the team from Milwaukee High School this evening. We have Principal Carmen Gelman, Assistant Principal Christy Weathers, Assistant Principal Marilyn Mee, and they are here to share with you about the great work they're doing.
Thank you. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Thank you, Chair Ford and directors, for having us tonight. We're super excited to talk about Milwaukee and, you know, our challenges and all the great things that we're doing, hopefully to meet those and just show the best of MHS and our beautiful students, family, and community. So I'm going to share my screen.
Did we give everyone access to sharing once we had the presenters leave?
Yes. Are you seeing your green button at the bottom, Carmen, where it says share screen?
I am.
Okay. You should have
Can you
rights.
see it?
No, not yet.
Okay. It isn't allowing me to do it. Hold on a second. Can you see it now?
I just made you a co-host. That should allow you now to do it.
Here we go. Can you see it now?
We can. Go ahead and hit present and you'll be good to go.
Great, thank you. Okay. All right, well, welcome to Milwaukee High School. This is our new building, and these are our core values: student-centered, relationships, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and future ready. Just a little treat. I'm really excited. Okay. Thank you. That I want to do a special shout out to Brian McGrew for putting that together for us. It's been very instrumental in helping us share with our community and the city and other folks, just the journey that we've been on for the last 3 years. Our agenda tonight, we're going to go over our core values, prevention, intervention, and support strategies, initiatives, our 2021-22 additional course offerings, and the professional development that we're doing with Dr. Dickey. Again, our core values are student-centered, relationships, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and future ready. And this is just a picture of our entire student body, staff, everybody. Once a year we do parades and we go through the neighborhood and lots of little kids come out, and it's just a really great way for us to build community, and it's pretty exciting. Our core values drive everything that we do. That's how we make our decisions. That's how we implement strategies. That's how we lead our work. And so student-centered is a huge one. We believe that every decision that we make has a student in mind. And then when schools are student-centered, kids feel more pride and investment in their school, which translates into more meaningful experience. Some of the things that we do, this doesn't encompass everything that we do around being student-centered, but we have student-led community and connection equity lessons that our students design, and I will show you an example of one later. We have a student advisory group to the principal that advises me on different decisions that I make, whether they're good, and also not just decisions that I make, but they come up with ideas or let me know what barriers we have and different things that need to be worked on. And then they also take on a project of something that they're interested in doing. We have a youth advisory council that works with our student-based health center, and they work on sources of strength. They support students. They also have been doing some curriculum development to add curriculum into our health classes, which happened last year, and now they've been embedded. Our social media in general is all led by students. We have a social media class, and so they run Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. These are also skills that they're gaining to be future ready, because when they're running their social media campaigns, they need to think about our audience. For example, Facebook is generally more towards the adults and Instagram is more towards the students. And so they have to think about the different audiences that they're talking to. Everything we do is around students. How does this impact students? Who's getting left out? Who is benefiting? All of those things. It's always with the student in mind. And we do a lot of student voice, a lot of surveys. We want to hear from our kids because they're our customers. They're the ones that we need to provide services for. And so that's really important to us. Our next core value is relationships. And here at Milwaukee, we believe that relationships between students, staff, and community are essential in fostering a culture of trust, with the goal of creating community and being intentional about how we make decisions. We want to know our students. It's not enough to know what, their name or what they look like, but we really want to know them. We want to know their story. We want to know about their culture. And it's the same with our staff. We do a lot of work to create relationships within our staff as well and understand what every staff member's why is and why they're doing the work that they're doing. And that leads into the work that they do in classrooms. And I think that's really important because we can throw the fanciest things, the fanciest curriculum, the fanciest tools at students. But if they don't trust us and they don't believe that we love them and care for them and that we truly believe in them, then they're not going to perform as well as they can. We want our students to thrive. And so this is a really important core value for us. We want to know what their interests and aspirations are. One of the things that we did was we moved towards working with the middle school principal to add that as part of one of the data points that we get when we get students. It's not just their reading scores. It's not just how they're doing academically, but how are they, what makes them thrive? What sparks them? What do they want to do? Because that gives us a lot of ways to look at kids and how we can be strategic in supporting them. Our next core value is equity, diversity, and inclusion. This is very important. We have equity every single staff meeting. Regardless of who's presenting, there's an equity component to it. We also have a large, thriving equity committee that has about 17 staff members on it, and it's also combined with students. Students meet and do equity work and plan equity events, and they're very involved in the work that we're doing. Again, professional development always has an equity lens to it. We collaborate with lots of diverse organizations. We're looking at our course selections, and we've been adding diverse course selections in order that all of our students can see themselves in our courses. And we want to make sure that we're offering things that For example, in the arts, that we're offering diverse art courses so that our students can participate and every student can have access to that. We have culturally relevant events all the time, and that's really exciting, and they're planned with students and the adults together. We bring in diverse authors, poets, and speakers. For example, we've brought in Anastasia Minto, Alex Dang. They do spoken word. They're pretty famous. You can look them up, but it's pretty cool to have them come into classrooms when we were in brick and mortar, and they're also coming to us during CDL. But they've written books. We are able to give them to students. It's really powerful. And we've also worked with Rima Zaman, and we're working with Milagro Theater, which we started last year, which is about 6 miles down the road. And they did a residency with us. And this year, we're also working with them on the play about Dolores Huerta, who is an American labor leader and civil rights activist. We have students and staff affinity groups and lots of clubs to support our kids. And so we're really proud of the equity work that we've done and we continue to do. We've also hired 26 staff of color over the last 22.5 years, and we have 10 staff that speak Spanish now. So that's really important to us. Future ready, we want all of our students prepared for life after high school so they can thrive in college, career, and relationship. And I think a lot of times when we think about future ready, it's those academic skills that people often think of, the AP courses, which are really important, and going to college and all of those things. But we really believe in a holistic approach of what student readiness means. We know that in today's 21st century, people don't stay in the same job for lots of years. They move around. Kids need to be able to grow up and function as adults where they can navigate different systems. How do they function in their relationships? How do they function in schools and college? And how do they stay in college and stay resilient? So we really believe that soft skills are critical to a student's success. Things like critical thinking, things like advocacy, things like resiliency, all of those skills that kids use every single day. They're not always aware that they're using these skills, but they are, and they're really, really important to the success of their future. How do you collaborate? How do you work with others? Civil engagement, that's a really important one as well. Sometimes kids get frustrated, or maybe kids that aren't as engaged. Sometimes there could be, they might be quicker to fight. And I always tell kids, if you're going to fight for something that you believe in. Use your words, let's empower you to do something that you're really passionate about. And that helps a lot of kids realize that they have power in who they are and they don't need to, be mean or use their fists. So we believe that providing students with lots of opportunities for civil engagement is really important. We've been working on recruiting and getting more students into AP, and you'll learn a little bit more about that in a little bit. So this year we were able to bring 80 students into AP, and we were very strategic and intentional about how we did that. And we did that through relationships and talking with students individually. We have added AP rigorous courses, and we will continue to add more as we go along. We want to create self-directed learners and give kids lots of college and career opportunities.
Hi, everyone. I'm Christy Weathers. I'm an assistant principal at Milwaukee High School. And tonight I get to talk to you a little bit about our prevention, intervention, and supports at Milwaukee. This year, we've had the unique opportunity to kind of rethink some of our systems and how we support our students and families. We now have engagement teams at every grade level, and those are teams that are solely focused on attendance and engagement and learning. We have a blend of classified and certified staff members and administrators on those teams, and we meet weekly, and we focus on our core value of relationships in those teams, where we assign people to reach out to families on a weekly basis and see how they're doing. It helps us get to know our families and their stories, their strengths, and also their challenges and how we can support. We also have grad teams at every grade level, and those teams are focused on the academic future of our kids and how they're doing looking towards graduation. We have senior grad parent groups that are getting together to support our seniors. We have a care team, which is a holistic approach, kind of looking at the SEL support for kids. The care team involves many community partners with our school-based health center, drug and alcohol counselor, mental health providers, our homeless liaison, and a variety of other people, along with our counselors, admin, dean of students, and people that come together to look at students and see how we can support them as a whole. One of the things that we're really proud of at our school are ninth grade teams. We have ninth grade teams really thriving this year. It's our third year in implementation, and those are teacher-led, and the work that they do is to look at our kids in ninth grade and make sure that they're on track by the end of the year, which is, one of our key performance indicators in our district. And within those teams, we can really look at the challenges our students face. Sometimes it's looking at math. We've had to really think about how we can better meet our students' needs in the area of mathematics. And the ninth grade teams have a math teacher at every team, and so they're able to really focus on that as a whole team together. We have an ELL team. We know that during CDL, our ELL students have faced some additional struggles and barriers with language and technology. So we have additional staff working to support our families that need additional support with language and with technology. We have wraparound services and teams of people that meet to wrap around kids. Again, that whole child focus that Carmen talked about earlier. Our tutoring opportunities are also pretty broad and also very targeted towards certain student groups. Our goal is that we provide tutoring opportunities that meet very specific needs. So it could be students with incompletes, it could be students that speak Spanish, it could be ninth grade students, it could be students in a particular content area, it could be AP tutoring, but we're very intentional about how we meet the tutoring needs of our kids. Carmen also talked earlier about our culturally specific supports with some of our affinity groups. We also are working with an organization called REAP this year, which Carmen will talk a little bit about, I think on the next slide, with some of our initiatives. So we're very proud of the work we do. We believe that if we can be proactive and get to know our students, know what they need, know their families, build those relationships, that they'll have a lot of success and get to graduation, but also be really inspired to leave after high school knowing what their passions are and their interests. So we're pretty proud of the work we've done in these areas.
Thank you, Christy. Just want to go over some of our initiatives. So as we were talking about AP, we've been working with Equal Opportunity Schools. This is our second year, and that's all about recruiting and retention around AP. And, our students, like I said, we do a lot of student voice. And so we have our Youth Truth Survey. We have our Healthy our Healthy School Survey. We do a lot of personal surveys with our students to see what it is that they want and need. And one of the things that came up was they wanted more AP and they wanted more students in AP themselves. And so we've been with this partnership with Equal Opportunity Schools, and it's been great. We're really excited about the work around EOS. Educational Epiphany is Dr. Dickey's work, and that is a school-wide initiative that I'll talk a little bit about in a little bit. And so we've been working with him. He's running a lot of our PDs right now, and our teachers are pretty excited about that work. REAP is a multicultural youth leadership organization that we started working with. They do leadership development, support students, they mentor, they provide opportunities for students around civic engagement and also policy work at the state level. And we're really excited about that partnership and where it can go. And they generally work with students of color. We have two programs going right now. It's a young men's program, and then the other one is a multicultural program of students from all different backgrounds, and not just students of color, but just all of our students that are interested in this kind of leadership work. So we're excited about that. As Christy mentioned, we also have ninth grade teams. We started with one team. Last year we had 3, and this year we have full teams across the board for all of our students. And we did that because we recognize that having teams is really important, and we know the importance of students at the ninth grade level being on track to graduate, and that's a huge indicator if students graduate on time is their success in ninth grade. So we're very intentional, and we even switched our counseling model to place counselors at grade level counseling so we can do this with fidelity. One of the things that we're doing is co-teaching and pushing in, because we found that sometimes kids didn't have access to Sabin-Schellenberg or AP courses or other electives, especially if they were either in ELL or in special education, because many times we provide a lot of supports, which is wonderful, but then they weren't accessing the things that, or didn't have as much room in their schedule. So we've moved more into a push-in model where kids are in classroom with all of their peers and teachers teaching together and supporting the students so that they can have more opportunities to take other courses. We collaborate with a lot of different partners. I talked about Milagro Theater before. We collaborate with the city. We collaborate with just some of the people that I've already talked about, Student-Based Health Center and the county. Restorative justice practices is something that we've been moving into. We started last year getting some training, but we really look at like how we handle and manage discipline. Even something as simple as changing the discipline name to be more of a supportive environment rather than a management. It's more about students being supported and finding out what the function of the behavior is, getting down to the root cause to really help students be successful. Trauma-informed practices is something that our teachers do and we're working on and continue to work on. And especially now during CDL, I think it's really important. And even when our students come back to us, is that we are all able to implement some of these trauma-informed practices to make sure our students are getting what they need, social, emotionally, and academically. Again, we have a huge equity task force, and it's very, very powerful, and I'd welcome folks to come and join us at any time. Remember, I talked a little bit about our student-led community and connection equity lessons. I want to give you an example of something that they do. So this was one lesson. They provide a lesson to us every once a month, and they present that lesson to the staff at a staff meeting. But here is just an example of it. This is all designed by kids. Obviously, we work with them, but they take the lead on it. They put all this together. They present it to the staff. And I'm just going to go through this really quickly because obviously we don't have a lot of time, but I wanted to show you an example of student voice and how we want to empower and do empower our students. And we want to continue to go down this road and really help them be self-directed learners. Obviously, when students do things for students, students seem to pay more attention for a lot of really good reasons. So we're really proud of this work that they did. And I will go through this pretty quickly. So this lesson was a really cool one, the directions that they give, but it was on understanding different perspectives and, you know, empathy. So they had kids watch a video and then they'd have them do these reflection questions, and we use Pear Deck so they can go into breakout rooms and do different things like that, watch the video and then reflect on what it was that they saw. We're not going to go into all the videos, but this is pretty powerful. And this is just an example of all of the things that we talked about: student-centered, relationships, future ready. These are skills that kids have that they're already gaining in high school that they'll be able to do once they leave us. So this is just one example of putting themselves in other people's shoes, and they give just little different examples of what the student is. And they ask kids to pick someone that they don't fit into a certain box and to pick a different one so they can understand someone else's perspective. So I'm going to click through this really quickly, but I just wanted to show you an example. And again, they do this once a month and it's been really great. There you go, Marilyn.
Good evening. I am Marilyn Mee, Assistant Principal at Milwaukee High School. As Carmen mentioned, Carmen and Christy both mentioned about our core values, and our core values also is a drive for everything we do, and is reflected in our curriculum and the instruction. This is our second year. We work with EOS, Equal Opportunity School, and we did a lot of surveys to hear about our students, what they think about it and what they see themselves in the school and in the classes. So we did a lot of talking with the staff and gather the data and try to come up with something that will suit our students' needs. And we noticed that our students are not reflected in many of, especially students of color, not reflected in many of our courses. And so we intentionally to work hard and, try to hear what the students need and how, their voice and what the choices they want to make. So last year we did add AP Human Geography, which opens up for the 10th and 9th graders that can start to take that class. And also world history, AP world history, that's opens to 10th graders. In the past, we only have AP classes from 11th graders to 12th graders, very limited option, less than 10 classes. And then now we have expanded it to 14. So we're continuing to add more. And we're, as a little earlier, we proposed the AP seminar, which is part of the AP capstone project, and they can earn the AP capstone diploma. And this is the first course we're going to implement next year. And since a lot of students going to college, and we notice that our school do not have the statistics to prepare them for their success, because statistics is very important for many subjects, no matter what you want to learn. That's a great tool for students to have. So we are able to provide probability and statistics. And AP psychology, we had it before, and due to some cuts and other reasons, we did not have it, and now we're putting it back on. So that's something our students are very excited about it, and that opens to all the grade level as well. Culture dance is a dance class that we teach Zumba and hip hop, folklorical, and the Pacific Islander line dance, etc., and reflect our true student population, so that the students feel their culture respected, and we want other students to know their culture as well. So that's part of the voice we heard from students. They wanted, so we're adding that. And another class is in the arts is music theory and composition. A lot of our love to write their own musics, and they like to write their own songs, write a lot of things, fun things they want to do. So we want to equip students those skills, and so that they can do that we will produce more musicians down the road, so they can be future ready. And the same as percussion, and those skills are critical and important in many, they can benefit their whole entire life and others as well. So media arts, and also a new form of how do we do arts, because a lot of times we're locked in with limited resources and drawing, and many kids are not a big fan of drawing, but we have lots of forms of arts, and we want to expand, and so that our students are prepared and they can see through their artistic eyes in the lens, and to see the world in a different way. So we want them to be ready for the world for the future. That's about all we have for next year, a lot, but we're excited, and we will see how that works. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn. I talked a little bit before about Dr. Danielle Dickey. He's a we do professional development with him. He's nationally recognized authority on curriculum, instruction, organizational development, and administration of schools. It's been really fun to start having that conversation with him. He's providing us with performance-based instructional objectives, looking at all our standards. But most importantly, what we're looking at is our tier 2 vocabulary. And so what we realize is that there's certain courses that sometimes our students come to us and they don't know the vocabulary, which then does not allow them to access the curriculum, right? And so what we found was sometimes when students will check out, if they don't understand what's going on and they don't understand the different terms, and in different contents, the same term is used differently. So as a school, as a whole, we're working on making sure that we are being very intentional about having students understand the different vocabulary words and what they mean and how they can be applied. Again, a lot of times we might think a student doesn't care or they're not engaged, but really sometimes they don't understand. And, vocabulary, some kids get a lot of vocabulary at a young age and others don't. And it's a civil right. And so we need to make sure that our students get access to all the vocabulary and all the curriculum that we have at the school. So lastly, thank you. I do want to say our students put together a little video. The core values are embedded in this video. The students created this screen as well as a way to welcome all the ninth graders and introduce all of us. They're so creative. But anyway, they created a video. You're not going to see our core values written or any of that. We believe that core values need to be actionable. They need to be seen in the activities that we do and the decisions that we make, not just on a wall. And so they created this video that they wanted to share with you about their best memories of when they were together and just MHS.
And we have been told that we are too young to have an opinion on gun violence while our peers all over the country are being murdered.
We're about building relationships, equity, diversity, and inclusion, and preparing you to be future Okay.
Cool.
That's it.
Awesome. Thank you guys for that wonderful presentation. And for all the students who put that video together, great job, amazing work. Of course, I'm not surprised. Never am. Kids are always really, really, really amazing at whatever they put their mind to. All right, directors, what questions do we have? If you have a question, can you raise your hand so I can call on you? Director McVeigh, looks like you're in a house now. Good job getting safe and sound.
I'm going to turn my video off because I have unstable
internet.
It's
okay.
echoing.
Okay. You now muted yourself though, so we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yep, we can hear you now.
I'm echoing, sorry. I just want to thank Carmen, Christy, Marilyn, and Sean, and frankly, all the Milwaukee High and MA teams. I'm pretty deeply connected to the Milwaukee community, and our community raves about your entire team and where you all have met kids at their level, but with the expectation of an educator. And I think that's what parents are looking for, someone who can walk alongside their kids, but not lower their standards or expectations of what kids are potentially capable of doing. And I hear that everywhere I go in Milwaukee, and it's your team that does that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director McVeigh. Anyone else?
I'd like sorry to chime in.
Go ahead, Director Way.
Thank you, Chair Ford. Sorry, other folks who I guess I'll take the floor. Sorry. Thank you so much for this wonderful presentation. I just love the student videos and centering student voice, and Principal Gelman. I love the focus on equity and the focus on just encouraging students to be whatever they want to be in the world and in whatever identity and whatever way to, that they can show up. So thank you so much. I'm really excited when I was looking at some of the newer course offerings to just, really take a look at these are going to be new opportunities for students. And I guess I am just wondering, do you anticipate any wait lists happening in some of, I could see like Zumba, for example, like really taking off and maybe, having a lot of students want to do that. So I'm just wondering, how will we be prioritizing students going into some of the newer courses that are being offered?
Well, we are, it's on the forecasting sheet, so we want to see what our numbers look like before we make decisions on how we move things around, so it's really going to depend on what kids are asking for. And then that's how we look at what things we offer and how. So for example, if we have one class worth of students that want one class, then we have one class. But if we have a lot of students, then we need to look at, can we make more classes? Can we do different things in order to meet the needs of our students? So, that's how we'll move forward with it. But we definitely want to make sure that our students are reflected in the arts, all of our students. And so we're doing a lot to move towards that.
Wonderful, thank you. And then just my next question, it was just going to be around, CDL and just some of the impacts that is having on students, because that is, sometimes the unfortunate reality of still being in a pandemic, still having to learn under a lot of different factors. And so I'm just, curious as to what are some of the, specific needs or concerns that parents and students have been, sharing at the school. And also, what do you feel like we should be doing differently as a school district to meet those needs?
I think, and others can chime in as well, but one of the biggest barriers that I saw in the beginning was students being able to navigate technology. So while students are really good at using their phones and social media, sometimes a lot of our students, didn't understand, like, how do you load a document? How do you, like, those things, how do you navigate the computer system in the world of CDL? And so that was one of our barriers, especially for our EL families in the beginning. But so we've done some things, like now we have parent meetings every 2 weeks with our EL community to figure out what ways we can support them and those kinds of things. The other piece is we have lots of students that live in multi-generational homes. We have students that are doing childcare. We have students that are working, and some students are working many, many hours to help support families and community. And so we understand that, like, family is very important to a lot of our families and communities, right? And so we want to honor that. And so trying to figure out different ways to support kids and work with teachers. So those are two main issues that I've been seeing. And then just the mental health stuff, kids want to be with kids. Like when we were teenagers, we could care less about everybody else. Well, I did, and I wanted to be with my friends and a lot of kids. So I think that's been really difficult. If Christy or Marilyn want to chime in.
Yeah, I just had one thought I wanted to share. I get to meet with our engagement team members every week and kind of hear the stories of like what are our families saying when we call on the phone and ask how it's going. And, the isolation for kids is really hard and the motivation isn't always there. But the one thing that our families say every time somebody calls from the school is thank you so much for calling. I might get 7 calls in a week from different staff members, but I need every single phone call and they make a difference. And, we had one parent who said, I even kind of gave up on my kid who's a senior because I didn't know if they were going to graduate this year, but you've called me every week. And now I know you're not giving up on them, so I'm not going to give up on them. And so, we just encourage our staff as much as they can to pick up the phone and call people all the time. And I think that connection piece, it continues to be what people are looking for. So as many ways as we can build connection with our community is important.
Thank you. I really appreciated what you said, because sometimes the solutions aren't as complex as we maybe think, but it's just simple as I'm going to pick up the call and I'm going to, talk to the student that I haven't heard from in a while, and keeping that relationship consistent. So thank you for saying that. And also thank you for reminding me that sometimes things are just as simple as doing that. So thank you.
Yeah, and we try to start with just, how are you doing? We're just calling to check in. How are you doing? It's not about what you're not getting done or you're not coming to class. Just, how are you doing? We're just here to connect. And that's opened the door to a lot of conversations that lead to support and encouragement. So.
Yeah, and kids message us all the time, and we have a text hotline. If parents or students need something, they can text and they'll get an answer right away. We have a something just happened form. We have a student needs something form. So once that's filled out, we look at what it is they need, whether it's, a hotspot, whether it's food, whatever it is, housing, whatever it is that they're struggling with. And then we find the resources and we get those people involved. So we have a lot of those systems in place through CDL to make sure our kids are getting what they need. And obviously, I don't think we're meeting the needs of all of our kids as we'd like to, but we have lots of kids show up for Lippy, even kids that I wasn't expecting. So we're full for Lippy. So I was super excited about that.
Excellent. I'll take one more director's comment. We are running way behind on time. So one more director, if someone else has questions.
Director Barr, did you want to go?
No, Director Way asked my question, but just really quick, thank you for your intentional creative ways of connecting with kids. It's phenomenal.
I'll just say real quick, I was a pretty impressive presentation. Thank you. How it just feels like to be a student and walk into your school, the way you want to know them and know their story. It's almost like what, to quote one gentleman that said, it's not what you say, it's not what you do, but it's how you make them feel. And you've created that environment. You continue to maintain that environment, and even the cultural dance there. I think that's awesome, because I think a lot of kids want to bring that. They want to bring their, food, music, dance, festivities. If all kids can bring that and show that, I mean, that's getting to know each other, and students are getting to do that and lead it. I just think that's the environment you've created there, the culture. Right on. Keep up the good work.
Thank you so much. We're so honored to serve this community. So we really appreciate it. Thank you. We love our kids.
Awesome. Thank you guys for the presentation. We'll look forward to more greatness from you guys in the future. Next on the agenda, we have the superintendent's report. Superintendent Utterback, are you ready to rock and roll?
I am. I'm going to share my screen. So good evening, board members and parents and students and staff that are watching our board meeting tonight via YouTube. My superintendent report tonight is going to focus on the status of reopening our schools and on athletics. And I have members of my leadership team that will join us tonight and assist in the presentation. So tonight, I plan to cover updates to the state health metrics, where we are with the vaccine rollout for K-12 employees, review with the board your current board actions around reopening facilities and athletics, share with you tonight 2 new recommendations around reopening and a proposed timeline regarding those reopening recommendations. Dr. Kalia Williams-Rodriguez will come and share with us a status on the elementary hybrid model. Dr. Shay James will give us an update on limited in-person instruction, and our Associate Director of High Schools and Athletics, Tammy O'Neill, will give us an update on where we are with activities and athletics, and we'll close with an opportunity for board questions and answers. As always, throughout this process, we are being guided by these district core beliefs and values. And I think this is probably, I don't know, our 15th board presentation around our response to the COVID-19 pandemic and reopening. So I will not read each of those tonight, but just put them into our space. We also continue to be guided by a number of state documents, and the most prominent being our Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance. And then just remind our staff and our parents that each school does have an operational blueprint for re-entry. And it is, the blueprint is our attempt to ensure our students and our staff and our parents that we are prepared to meet the 160 plus requirements of the Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance. Last Friday, the Oregon Department of Education released updated guidance in the Ready Schools Safe Learners document that caused us to review the definition of cohorting. And cohorting is one of the requirements within the Ready Schools Safe Learners guidance that we must comply with. And we had been operating under the definition that a single student or anyone that they came in contact with, plus their contacts, could not exceed 100 people. The updated guidance clarifies the definition of a cohort. Now, a single student cannot have contact with more than 100 people in a week during school hours. And this definition is a significant change at the secondary level, particularly. This means that a student could attend several small classes each day and never meet the 100-person threshold over the course of that week. The new definition is also very clear that this new definition of cohort does not include transportation or passing time or after school activities. So we often talk about Ready Schools Safe Learners. It certainly is the guidebook on how we reopen our schools safely. And I just wanted to share with you all tonight, this is a rough timeline of the Ready Schools Safe Learners, and every time it has been updated since June. And every time that this document is updated, we shift and pivot and change and adjust. And I think it's important for folks to understand that, given that the enormity of 160 requirements that must be in place for us to operate our schools in the middle of a pandemic. And finally, we continue to use equity-based decision tools in our decision-making. And what you'll see there, again, on the left-hand side of the screen is the district's equity lens, and asking ourselves, consistently those 7 equity-based questions as we go about our decision-making. So the school district currently has a number of reopening recommendations, and those reopening recommendations are based on a number of factors, specifically infection rates in Clackamas County, as well as vaccine availability for staff. And I'll review those recommendations with you in just a second, but you can see the chart on the right that speaks to the various instruction models and by level when a district should be transitioning through those various instructional models. This is advisory, and it is not required by the state, but it is to serve as an advisory to school districts. So we get an update every Monday on how Clackamas County is doing. And so for the 2 weeks prior to February 20th, Clackamas County averaged 91 cases per 100,000 residents and had a test positivity rate of about 2.6%. And this is the 3rd week in a row that Clackamas County has been below those 200 cases. So next, I'd like to turn the presentation over to Tiffany Shireman, our Chief of Staff, who's played a vital role in the rollout of vaccinations for K-12 employees in the metro area.
Good evening, all. Tonight, I have information for you. I just want to check that folks can hear me. Yes, great. Tonight, what I'm bringing forward for you is information about COVID-19 vaccination for educators continues to move forward. A regional consortium of school districts and health partners have come together to coordinate with the Oregon Health Authority. And the structure in place places the ESDs at the table with private and public health partners. And then the school districts work through their ESDs to develop common messaging, timelines for problem solving, et cetera. Each school district in the region has been asked also to provide at least one staff member each weekday at the Oregon Convention Center. This workforce sharing has helped to fill the gap from volunteer fatigue that is appearing there at the Convention Center operations. And school districts will continue to provide a staff member each weekday for the next couple of weeks. While unilaterally, we are hearing from our staff strong praise for the vaccination process once they arrive at the convention center, scheduling appointments has been challenging for many staff. North Clackamas has provided routine all staff emails, initiated an email help desk. That email help desk is monitored morning, day, and night, 7 days a week. We have an internal staff web page that was developed and continues to be maintained. Scheduling instructions have been provided for staff in both English and Spanish, and the school district's community liaisons are available to staff who could benefit from additional language support in a language other than English. As of last Thursday, approximately 59% of the region's educators have received at least one dose or had an appointment to do so. And since then, additional slots have opened this Monday and then again today. In fact, a large number open today. We also anticipate more in the next coming weeks. Employee groups were initially broken into waves, generally based on grade level, and with those working with the younger students in the earliest waves. While North Clackamas is not requesting or recording any information regarding whether or not a staff member has received the vaccination, the Clackamas ESD does maintain a standby vaccination list for educators in waves 1 through 3 who have not been able to obtain a dose or an appointment yet. The standby list, we recognize that at times the convention center will have a number of cancellations and will have the availability for very last minute to stick some folks in for those vaccinations. It's worth noting that right this moment, we have 30 people in waves 1, 2, or 3 who have signed up for that standby list. That number tells us that the number of folks in waves 1, 2, or 3 who are trying to get their first dose is not extensive. It is of note also that we do have members of wave 1 who have now received their second dose of the vaccine. Wave 4, which includes high school staff along with others, was granted access to appointments beginning late last week, with more appointments made this week. And at this time, appointments are accessible to those in any of the waves. Thank you.
Thank you, Tiffany. So thus far, the board has taken 5 actions regarding the reopening of schools, facilities, and athletics. And the first action here, or to summarize, is that you've granted the implementation of you've granted the implementation of grades K through 1, elementary hybrid model, when employees that are working with those K-1 elementary school students have had the opportunity for both COVID vaccine doses. and after Clackamas County health metric for returning to in-person instruction is below 200 cases per 100,000 residents for at least 2 consecutive weeks. You've also granted us the authority to expand the elementary hybrid model to grades 2 and 3. Again, when the employees that are going to work with those students have had the opportunity for both COVID vaccines doses, and with Clackamas County continuing to stay below those 200 cases per 100,000 residents. Right? And when you granted this authority, we said that rollout would occur approximately 2 weeks after implementing the K-1 elementary hybrid. At the time you took this action, we said that we would maintain grades 4 through 12 in comprehensive distance learning until the board took additional action. At that same meeting, you've authorized the superintendent to implement in-person instruction, which we have this week, and we'll talk a little bit more about in a few moments. You've allowed district high school students to participate in OSAA approved activities, and those are also started this week. And you approved the rental of North Clackamas fields to local youth service nonprofit athletic groups. And that is slated to begin in about 3 weeks. So given where we are tonight, given that vaccine rollout is moving forward, given that the health metrics in the state and Clackamas County continue on a downward trend, given the new definition in Ready School Safe Learners regarding cohorting, and my firm belief that we can roll out hybrid models safely to our students and our staff, following all the recommendations and Ready School Safe Learners, I'm bringing forward tonight 2 additional reopening recommendations. The first is that I would ask that you allow us to expand the elementary hybrid model to grades 4 and 5 when employees working in those grades with those students have had the opportunity for both of their COVID-19 vaccine doses. And again, when Clackamas County continues to meet the health metrics of 200 cases or fewer per 100,000 residents. And following approximately 2 weeks after implementing grades K-1. I'm also asking you tonight to give us the authority to implement a secondary hybrid model when employees working with grades 6 through 12 have had the opportunity for both of their COVID-19 vaccine doses. And again, with Clackamas County continuing to stay below 200 cases per 100,000 residents. I would ask that the board consider taking action on these items at a minimum at the next board meeting on March 11th. So given where we are as a school district as well as a county, and assuming that Clackamas County continues to meet these health metrics and that our staff continue on their current schedule regarding vaccines, I am tonight proposing the following reopening timeline. The first is grades K-1 would start on March 29th. And that would be preceded by 3 instructional days that would move 1 to a teacher grading day on March 17th, and that we would implement 2 additional new teacher preparation days on March 18th and 19th. It is going to be a significant lift as teachers will transition many from their home into their classrooms, training for staff on safety health protocols, rearranging furniture in classrooms, and adjusting to a new way of teaching. I would propose that grades 2 to 5 roll out on a similar schedule 2 weeks later, with the first day of hybrid instruction on April 12th. And then finally, 2 weeks later, we would roll out the grade 6-12 hybrid schedule on April 26th. April 26th would be the first day of what traditionally is our fourth quarter. Now, with our CDL schedule, it really is the second half of second semester. And with this, I just want to be clear with the community, this timeline will require changes to the school calendar. There will be several days at each of these rollouts of no school to allow our teachers that time to plan and transition. And clearly, one of the things we've learned through this entire process is that we don't control this virus, it controls us. So these dates are subject to change depending on vaccine availability, right? Changes in health metrics, transportation driver availability, and there's probably a list of many more. Tonight, I feel very optimistic that we can meet these proposed timelines, and I am excited to begin to return more students to our schools. I also want to be really clear for our community that this hybrid model is going to look dramatically different than traditional school. I want to remind folks that masks will be required at all times. Students and staff will need to maintain a 6 feet, so physical distance from one another at all times. And the number of students in a classroom needs to be limited to an average of 35 square feet per person in the classroom. This means that there will be no partner work and no group work. And in order to meet these requirements, schools will be divided into smaller sections, with some students coming to school on certain days and other schools, students coming to school on different days. And this in-person hybrid instruction will be limited to a shorter number of hours per day than what we would normally do in a school setting. And in a few minutes, I'm going to turn the presentation over to Dr. Clea Williams-Rodriguez, our Executive Director of Elementary Programs, to provide more detail regarding these recommendations. So with that, Dr. Williams-Rodriguez, the next couple of slides are yours.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Thursday. I am honored to be the Director for Elementary Programs, learning a lot about all our different models and recognizing that this work is not done alone. So as I speak, please know that on behalf of the team, we come before you today to welcome our students back to school. So a couple of things, as we've gone throughout the year, we recognize that based on listening with families, educators, and students, yes, our kindergarten through 5th grade students give us feedback as well. We recognize that the schedule that was shared in the fall, that was on the website, rendered some consideration to know that we were looking at a 2-day of hybrid on-site learning and 3-day of off-site learning, asynchronous instruction. Based on some feedback, we are coming today to make some adjustments. We also recognize that there were several modalities of learning. Hybrid, again, is on site. Synchronous learning is virtual learning on the screen. And then you can see the rest. Asynchronous instruction is a pre-recorded lesson from a teacher. And applied learning is where students apply and practice their learning. Having said that, it has been a heavy lift for students, families, and teachers. And with that in mind, we are again making some adjustments. So you will see that in a little bit. Due to COVID-19, we are interested in mitigating the virus transmission and keeping everyone safe. And with that in mind, meals. I'd like to talk about meals a little bit. So we have an opportunity for our families. Any family has an opportunity to access meals. And so what that would look like is we would need to have families of students, anyone under the age of 18 who's registered in North Clackamas School District, to access meals, and it will be delivered to students' homes. So I want to highlight that especially because breakfast as we know it and lunch as we know it will not be served on site. If a student is hungry, we would provide a snack. However, the full meal as we know it will not be an option that's available to us, but it will be delivered to the family's home if it's not already currently. The length of the instructional day was also a concern that was highlighted because we did not want students to not have access to an adult for 3 days a week. So we are making that adjustment, and that adds to the instructional time. So on that note, we will move on. So some considerations that the team has developed is a schedule that looks something like this. We have an opportunity for our students that I will share with you on the next slide in a little bit, for students to be in 2 different cohorts. And what that means, it's a cohort A and a cohort B. Students will come on site in the morning for approximately 3 hours of instruction. When they go home in the afternoon, they begin synchronous learning, which is access to a teacher adult in the building on the screen. So this is different because, again, it was going to be 2 days of instruction and 3 days of asynchronous instruction. So a student would have access to an adult or instruction on site, and then again in the afternoon. So I will share a little bit more of those details. Superintendent Utterback did share, based on our square footage in a classroom, the range of students can be anywhere between 9 to 15 students, either on a Monday and Tuesday schedule or a Thursday and Friday schedule. The Wednesday would remain the same. Based on feedback, we did eliminate the asynchronous instruction for general education classrooms. We are having conversations with our specialists, physical education, music, counselors, health and wellness around continuing asynchronous instruction. We also want to highlight the fact that applied learning materials will be aligned to what happens in the classroom. So applied learning will continue in the afternoon for some students on a given day, as well as the Wednesday as we know it. Specially designed instruction is for students who have been identified as having a disability and they access special education services. And that can happen at multiple points throughout the day, during small group instruction, but certainly not during core content instruction of whole group, language arts, math, integrated science, social studies. So that's important to think about. And for our English learners who are learning, who have access to a language in addition to English, will continue with integrated science and social studies. So that will continue to be the same service for our students. And I've already highlighted the breakfast and lunch. So on the next slide, when you see it, though it is small, the short version is, again, we are working with our transportation department to determine what time our elementary students will begin their instruction on site. So we have some schools that have been known to start earlier in the school day, and we use a 45-minute window for some of our other elementary schools to start a little bit later. And so in the past, that has been 7:45 in the morning or 8:30 a.m. start time. Again, those start times have yet to be finalized, and we are working with our transportation department. So on that note, what you're going to pay attention to is this first screen. There are colors there you might be able to see. If I were a student in cohort A, my day on Monday, Tuesday would be on site. Dismissal would occur, and then students would have their access to meals or lunch at home. Then students would have an opportunity, what you might be able to see in the blue is called applied learning. Students would have an opportunity to apply their learning based on what has happened in the morning. So for our educators, please know that we're making some, we have heard you about, is it a repeat from the morning? Do I do what I do in the morning with cohort B in the afternoon? And principals will be able to give you an update about that soon. So please hold on that note. So in terms of the student view, Monday and Tuesday morning, a student is on site, and then in the afternoon, they are off site doing their applied learning time. And that would continue. Some teachers are doing choice boards. They have an opportunity to redirect students to RAS kids, et cetera. So that's what you're seeing there. On Thursday and Friday, again, I'm a student in cohort A. I still would have something called a synchronous greeting. So what you're seeing in the green on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday is a synchronous greeting. It could be with any adult in the school building. It could be an instructional assistant, a school administrator, a specialist, and they would welcome students onto the screen and a way to start the school day. We're happy to see you. And here are the activities or outlines for the day. It would be moving on to asynchronous music, physical education, health and wellness, etc. This is also an opportunity where students would have access to their specially designed instruction. And in the afternoon on Thursday and Friday, that is when synchronous class meeting occurs, and then they are welcomed by or meet with the teacher synchronously. If I am a student in cohort B, it is a similar schedule, and it just flips based on what I just said. So your on-site learning, if you shift your eyes to the right, is on Thursday and Friday of that week. You can see that yellow color as a highlight. So again, I'm recognizing that this is small print, probably difficult to see on the screen. And I'm gonna have us move to the next slide because I'm gonna share with you the timeline of when you will see this information as a family and educators as well. So we talked about transportation. We also, I just want to really highlight there are implications of a staggered start time. And again, we are working with our transportation department to finalize the schedules. And I just want to acknowledge that it's not an easy task behind the scenes as we look at our system as a kindergarten to 12th grade organization. Please know that comprehensive distance learning does remain an option for our families and our students. Which does allow for a transition from hybrid to comprehensive distance learning if necessary. So CDL will remain as an option for some of our community members and students. We also recognize that staffing allocations are decided based on a family or student or student's intent. So in November, long time ago, there was an opportunity for families to share with us their intent to have their child return to school. Tomorrow, which is Friday, February 26th, families will receive a guidance document to indicate all the updates that we have to share, some of which are highlighted this evening. And we will be asking families to confirm your intent to return to hybrid. So if in November, you had an opportunity to share, yes, I would like my child to return to hybrid, and now you have new information based on what you'll see, we are asking you to confirm between Monday and Friday of next week. And so your schools are making decisions about desk and space and everything in between to welcome students back because we really do want to have our students with us. Please know that. But we also want to make it a safe opportunity for everyone involved. So again, family guidance will come out tomorrow. We are asking for your confirmation, and it can be, I thought I wanted to do CDL, but I really would like my child to be in hybrid, or I've decided that CDL is where my child will stay. Those are the options that are available to you. So we definitely miss our students. Please know that as we move into hybrid, it is not met without apprehension, but we are certainly eager and we're doing this together. We have more questions than answers, but we are committed to a public education for our students. Thank you.
Thank you, Kalia.
Yep.
I also want to address tonight the secondary hybrid. Obviously, late last Friday, I referenced the changes in Ready School Safe Learner guidance regarding cohorting. And that is allowing us the return to in-person learning at the secondary level, along with the vaccine availability and meeting the health metrics. So like elementary, secondary students will likely be split into two groups. And again, that allows for the physical distancing requirement as well as the square footage requirements in Ready School Safe Learners. And at this time, we are considering the scheduling options that are available to the design of a secondary hybrid schedule. And in the coming days, we'll be bringing stakeholders to the table to finalize that secondary plan. And then we will communicate that with our staff, students, and families. So more to come regarding secondary here in the coming weeks. So next, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Shay James, our Assistant Superintendent for Education and future superintendent, to talk about limited in-person instruction.
Good evening. Thank you. So what I will share is, in addition to our hybrid planning, we have also been working on our plans for limited in-person learning, which is also often referred to as LIPI. And like all of our other instructional models this year, we are following the LIPI guidance document from the Oregon Department of Education for our implementation parameters. So limited in-person instruction, or otherwise known as LIPI, is allowed as an additional support to students and does not replace comprehensive distance learning or hybrid learning. Instead, it provides a small cohort of students the opportunity to access school staff on site for 2-hour sessions to receive additional academic and/or social emotional support. And the small cohorts are designed with no more than 20 students to allow for the required social distancing, and students cannot participate in more than 2 cohorts across all of the activities and must follow all of the safety protocols while on campus. So we have a little bit of tracking to do there to make sure that students are safe. Here you will see, or you do see, our implementation timeline for LIPI at each level. And so I'll draw your attention to the top of the box, starting at elementary schools. And this shows you that our elementary schools will host kindergarten students and first grade students that are new to school on March 18th and 19th. This will be done by cohorts. So you heard Dr. Williams Rodriguez talk about the cohorts that schools are working on to assign. So our March 18th will be cohort A and March 19th will be cohort B. This will happen at the beginning of the school day for 2 hours as a transition opportunity to orientate and welcome new students to their schools. Our littles haven't been able to see where they're going to go, meet their teachers in person, and just an opportunity to review what the standard practices and procedures are. How do we get to the restroom? How do we get through the hallways? Some of those things that we need to share with our students prior to hybrid instruction happening. So what I can share is that schools will reach out to families with cohort assignments and details that will be coming soon to let you know just the information around that opportunity for LIPI for elementary schools. On the bottom left, you see our middle schools will begin LIPI on March 10th. And this will be with 6th graders needing additional engagement support. So eligible students will be asked to join us each Wednesday for 2 hours from 1:30 to 3:30 through the remainder of the year. And our school staff at our middle schools are currently reaching out to students and families who meet the specified criteria to participate, and they will be sharing all of the details there as well and inviting students in. And on the bottom right-hand side, you see our high schools, and you've heard a little bit of us talk about it. They actually began LIPI yesterday on Wednesday, the 24th. They were joined by seniors needing credit support towards graduation, and will continue to join us on Wednesdays for 2 hours from 1:30 to 3:30 throughout the remainder of the year. And school staff are currently and will continue to reach out to students and families who meet the specified criteria to participate on these days. We are providing transportation for all students who need it in an effort, in order to be able to participate in LIPI. And I'll just share in closing that yesterday we had about 64 seniors join us across our high school to participate in LIPI, and it was very exciting. We had Principal Nate Munoz from CHS share LIPI was a huge success for us, and students worked really hard today and interactions were wonderful. Principal Carmen Gelman of Milwaukee, who you heard speak tonight, said having students show up that we weren't expecting is a testament to how connected they feel. I'm so grateful to have some of our babies back in the building. even though they're not babies, they're her babies. And Rex Putnam, and a Rex Putnam student shared, I didn't feel like I could graduate, but it's getting close now. So in closing, we call that a successful start. We're excited to have our students back, and we're excited to continue with this.
Thank you, Shay. And finally, the last piece of information we'd like to share is regarding high school athletics and activities. And Tammy O'Neill, our Associate Director of High Schools and Athletics, will share with you an update.
Yep. Hi, everybody. I'm excited to share all the exciting and expanding news about our sports and activities. So on February 22nd, the traditional high school sports, which are volleyball and football, cross country and soccer, started what is now called season 2. I really don't think we would have felt ready to initiate the competitive seasons had it not been for incredible hard work of the athletic directors and coaches and athletes during season 1 conditioning and training. They had to follow incredibly strict guidelines starting back in November when COVID cases were very, very high. And I need to recognize that the staff and players were doing what had never been done before. And they took it incredibly seriously, the safety measures, and as a community really committed to responsible participation. Because of that success, we were ready to start season 2 without football, actually, until the governor outlined plans for high-risk counties to participate in outdoor contact sports. At that point, we were still high risk. So we really quickly made plans to comply with the opt-in requirements, and football was able to join the other fall sports in their preparation for the competitive season. Currently, we are looking at plans to allow for spectators into competitions, and we are required to comply with event capacity for now the moderate risk level, which for outdoors is 150 total, and then indoors is 100 total. So the size of the teams vary, and therefore the spectator allowances will also differ for each sport. We do not anticipate being able to allow for spectators for football because the numbers need to include coaches and officials and really large player rosters for those teams. However, we are really excited to be able to plan for spectators for soccer and cross country, and though in smaller numbers because it's inside capacity for our volleyball. Additionally, North Clackamas School District just installed Pixelet cameras so that the events at our stadiums and in our gyms are able to be streamed free of charge to our community. So we'll be able to offer that to our families as well. We still have out of season teams continuing with their outdoor training and conditioning, as well as virtual team meetings. They've just made everything work in these times. And safety guidelines were just completed for our music programs to safely practice together outdoors as well. And then lastly, I'll just add to this that extra and co-curricular activities recently received their safety training materials and guidance documents. And so we anticipate a variety of additional student activities to begin soon outdoors. So there you have it.
Thank you, Tammy. And with that, board, that concludes our presentation, and we are open to questions and board discussion.
Okay, thank you guys for those wonderful presentation. Superintendent Utterback, can you go back to your recommendation slides, please? Excellent. So directors, I'd like to, as your chair, recommend that we move this to immediate action. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Chair Ford, I will make a motion. Would you like it for both bullets? That's how I was going to read it.
The first motion needs to be to move it to action because this recommendation is not an action item at this time.
Thank you. I move that we move this to as an action item, not just discussion.
Excellent, been properly moved. Do I have a second?
Benaloga, second.
Been properly moved and seconded that these two recommendations be moved to an action item during this meeting. Any discussion needed? I can't see everyone, so I'm hearing none. So we'll go ahead and move to a vote. I'll do a roll call. Director Perez, how do you vote?
Aye.
Benaloga, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director McVeigh, how do you vote?
Nay.
Okay. Director Way, how do you vote?
Aye.
Director Bauer, how do you vote?
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. That is 5 out of our 7. We have 1 missing director. That is an approval of moving these recommendations to an action item. So now these 2 recommendations are now considered an action item. Do I have a motion? We will have discussion if there is a motion presented.
Chair Ford, this is Superintendent Utterback.
Yes.
As part, should there be a motion on these recommendations, I would also ask that the motion reference the proposed timeline that is on this next slide.
Excellent. So if you are choosing to make a motion for these recommendations, please include the reopening timeline dates as part of your motion, if that is your choice. The floor is currently open.
Chair Ford, this is Director Bauer.
Okay.
I move to make a motion to adopt the new reopening recommendation to expand the elementary hybrid model to grades 4-5 when employees working with grades 4-5 elementary school students have had the opportunity for both COVID-19 vaccine doses. And with Clackamas County still meeting the health metrics of below 200 cases per 100,000 residents for returning to in-person instruction and following approximately 2 weeks after implementing grades K-1 elementary hybrid delivery model. Also implementing a secondary hybrid model when employees working with grades 6-12 secondary school students have had the opportunity for both COVID-19 vaccine doses, with Clackamas County still meeting the health metrics of below 200 cases per 100,000 residents, and with elementary schools demonstrating the ability to limit transmission in the school environment. Also with these reopening timelines, assuming Clackamas County continues to meet the health metrics as outlined by the school board and staff vaccination continued on their current schedule, the district anticipates the following rollout of the hybrid schedule. Grades K-1. Teacher grading day moved from April 21st to March 17th. New teacher preparation days, March 18th, 19th. First day of hybrid, March 29th. Grades 2-5, teacher grading day moved from April 21st to April 7th. New teacher preparation days, April 8th and 9th. First day of hybrid schedule, April 12th. Grades 6-12. Teacher grading day remains as April 21st. New teacher preparation days, April 22nd and 23rd. First day of hybrid schedule, April 26th. This timeline will require changes to school calendars. And
you're
subject,
good.
Is that it? Okay.
Yeah.
I got it covered.
You got it covered. Properly moved. Do I have a second?
Director Perez, second.
Excellent. Properly moved and seconded. Any discussion? Director McVeigh.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate this attempt to get kids back in the classroom. I think we can do better and we should do better. We haven't talked to a teacher yet that feels hybrid learning is good for anyone. We've seen the emails, and we've all talked to our teachers. We have families that want their kids to be taught in person, and we have families that want their kids to be taught from a distance. We have teachers that want to be the most effective way which they can be, and they've told us that it is not a hybrid model. With 9 years on this board, I've never felt that families' requests have been more ignored than during this time. We just looked at the health metrics for a large county, and it says under 200 and above 50, there should be an on-site and hybrid model. I have yet to see an on-site recommendation, just a hybrid and CDL. I have a problem with the survey that's going to be sent out. It's not asking who wants full-time on-site. It's asking families who want a hybrid or a CDL education. Of course, families that want in-person learning are going to be forced to choose a hybrid option. That's leading the witness. I personally think there's an easy solution. We get all the teachers vaccinated, which I'm all for. We stay within the health metrics of ODA and OHA. We wait the 14 days from the second dose, and we figure out those families that want their kids back in the classroom, and we allow that. And we allow those teachers that want to be teaching from home, even if vaccinated, to continue in the CDL model. And we get rid of the hybrid that nobody wants. And I don't understand why this is not being proposed today. Redmond School District on Monday is starting full-time K-5 education in their district. And I have yet to be told how they can do it and we can't. And I'm frustrated.
So Director McVeigh, do you have a question?
Yes, how is Redmond School District abiding by the recommendations starting on Monday and we can't do that?
Okay.
That was my question.
Superintendent.
I can't speak for the Redmond School District. I can speak for the North Clackamas School District and our ability to accurately follow the Ready School Safe Learners guidance. We cannot bring students back full-time in an on-site schedule due to the 6-foot requirement, physical distance requirement, and the 35 square foot requirement that is placed upon all school districts in the state of Oregon. We know that we can follow the Ready School Safe Learner guidance by splitting our student bodies in half and creating basically a cohort A and a cohort B. And when we do that, we get class sizes of, I think Dr. Williams said at the elementary level, between 9 and 15 students in a classroom that's about 700 square feet. And that allows us to do it. If we were to bring all students back, minus those that would stay home in a CDL option, we'd likely have over 20 students to 25 students in our classes, and that would be a violation of the Ready School Safe Learner guidance.
So I guess to follow up, do we know which families would choose in-person or CDL, but not hybrid?
We haven't given our parents the option of a full on-site, 4 days a week or 5 days a week, full day on-site option, because we can't offer it.
But we don't know what the population for that would be. So how do we know we can't offer it?
We know, so I had to think about your question. Based upon our numbers from November and early December when we surveyed our community, we know that roughly at that time, about a third of our families were choosing to remain in CDL, about 30%, and that roughly 70% were choosing the hybrid model, which was the option for them. At that number of families coming back, that 70%, we did look at the numbers by elementary school to see if we could bring our students back full time, and we can't with 70% of our families coming back. That was not an option.
So taking us back to the slide, my question would be for the health metrics that are recommended, I don't know if it's ODA, ODE, or OHA on large counties from 50 to 200. Do you know where that recommendation came from? If they're saying it should have a hybrid option and an on-site option for large counties? I'm assuming that would be Washington, Multnomah, and Clackamas.
Yes. We fall into this top row right here. And obviously the recommendations are based on health and safety metrics from epidemiologists and other researchers. I would guess, Tori, that there are probably a number of private schools that are out there that to begin with probably have class sizes that are under 20. And then if they're going to offer a comprehensive distance learning option that maybe would pull out 5 students, they may be able to run a fully on-site program for those students. But
that makes sense. Okay.
We don't have that option.
So my question would be, where can our families go to the state to find out how other districts are doing it legally so they can provide that information to us? Like, Redmond starts on Monday. Can they contact ODE, or what would be the recommendation for? We have some families that are very strongly want their elementary, well, all kids, but particularly K-5 back in the classroom. What avenue do we have for them to reach out to ODE or OHA?
What is prohibiting us from doing that right now is the 6-foot physical distance requirement between students and the 35 square foot that we must maintain a minimum of 35 square feet per person in a classroom. Okay. And that is what is forcing us into a hybrid model versus fully on-site. So that would be advocacy at ODE and OHA to look to re-examining those requirements. Now, okay. Granted, those requirements are in place to keep those in the classroom safe.
Yeah, for sure. Everyone wants that, for sure. Yeah. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And also, Tori, to piggyback on your question, may I also offer the community, if you find a school district that may be doing something and it's not in line with those things, ODE also has a reporting link on their site that you can report them. We are trying to follow the rules as been given to us, but there are people who aren't. And so if you find it, you can also report them if you choose to, just to let you know that. Other questions? Motion on the floor is the 2 recommendations in the timeline. Director Bauer.
Thank you, Chair Ford. I did want to ask the superintendent about staff as far as transportation and also staff in office areas that would have to be handling isolation rooms and that. Do we have the staff that, can handle that? Are you getting your bus drivers back, I guess?
Yes, so we're in the process.
Certified.
Thank you. I wasn't quite sure where you were going with transportation, but yes, we're in the process of recalling our remaining bus drivers. One of the things that you heard tonight is transportation is that it is a challenge when you start taking 32 schools and over 12,000 students that are that we transport every day, and you start changing the start and end times of those 32 schools. That's why we can't say today where we are with the elementary, middle school, and high school start times. We are still trying to figure out on a hybrid schedule, given the announcement this last week and the change with cohorting at the secondary level, what those start and end times will be. But we're hopeful that we will have enough bus drivers. We do believe we've lost them since we laid them off in September. We're hoping that also this rolling start of the hybrid schedules will allow us over the course of the next 8 weeks to hire additional drivers if we need to. Regarding new requirements, we are required to have isolation rooms in each of our schools, and so we are going to reallocate certain positions to help cover those rooms in our school district, and are working to do that. We also are looking at our elementary bus routes, and There are also pretty strict recommendations regarding how we transport students, where they sit, the distance between students on a bus. And so we're looking at recalling some additional staff, basically to help the bus driver and kind of be a bus monitor and help kids physically distance themselves on a bus as well, and do the screening checks as kids get on the bus to make sure that they're feeling well at the start of the day. So yeah, a lot of shifting of staff will happen in the next 2 months.
Yeah. Will the information to parents be provided in other languages too? So that won't be a barrier?
It will. I think we have it translated in 4 languages, and we're awaiting a 5th language to be translated. Yes, and those will be ready to go out tomorrow.
Okay, well, I just wanted to thank our community for getting that metrics down by doing the social distancing, wearing masks or whatever it is. So we wouldn't be where we are now unless our community worked hard. But also, I don't want to, I want to acknowledge the hard work of our staff, our superintendent and our teachers. And I know this is like another model for them and is going to be more work. So, but it does seem like, according to metrics and vaccine, and people have the choice. They can stay in CDL, or they can choose then to go back for these other needs that we're hearing from our community. With the RSSL document, this is the next step. I don't see how we can jump to the other. I'm done, Chair Ford.
Thank you, Director Bauer. Anyone else have any discussion or questions?
Yes, Chair Ford.
Director Way.
Thank you. I just would like to know how are we going to continue to focus on the needs of ELL students, in particular, those on IEP, and then other students who just may be needing additional support and resources as we are talking about this transition. And I also just imagine that there's going to be a lot of communication and a lot of continued exchange and dialogue between parents, caregivers, and community and our district on this. So I know that was a 2-part question around really focusing on the needs of particular student groups and populations. And then also secondly, just sort of that communication rollout and the open exchange that we want to continue to have with community.
Yeah, I appreciate the question, Director Way. And I may have some of my staff, if I don't adequately answer the question, provide you some additional information. First of all, let's talk, address the social emotional needs that students, and families have during this time period. We are currently, within the last, I think, week or 2, have expanded services and times at our Family Support Center at Wichita. And so I'm really excited to be able to extend hours and services there to our families. Bringing students back onto campus is going to allow, I think, certainly for more interaction between our engagement specialists, our counselors, our social workers, and our students and families. They're going to have, again, increased access to our student-based health centers, which will be critical as well. And then regarding, specialized support, for our students that have a learning disability, as well as our English language learners. Again, I think we all would agree that having students in person on site, interacting, in a live format with our teachers and our support staff is a stronger instructional model than CDL is. So I would expect, and I know our staff is ready and willing and excited to bring our students back onto our campuses. You saw in the detailed elementary schedule, there are numerous times throughout the day for that specialized instruction, and that's where our English language development staff and our learning specialists will connect with kids, either when they're on site or when they're off site doing that synchronous learning. So I'm excited for the opportunities that are coming for our students.
Director Way, do you feel like your question was answered?
Yes, thank you. And I am still trying to read through all of the different recommendations and timelines. So it is a lot. And again, I just want to echo what Director Bauer said. I do really appreciate staff and everyone, you know, from our bus drivers to folks who are going to be preparing our meals. I just really appreciate everyone for all of the ups and downs that we've been having this past year, and for really centering this on students and safety and community. So thank you again for both staff and for community.
Director McVeigh, you had something else?
Yeah, thanks for giving me the leeway to come back. One of the things I wanted to ask, because I think the hybrid model is probably going to pass tonight, or this recommendation. And so my question for Matt, Superintendent Utterback, would be, was there any thought to 2 full days instead of the model that was being suggested? And do you think there'll be an opportunity to be fluid in this recommendation, where if we find down the road that, you know, come April that we need to make changes, that there could be a different recommendation on a different schedule? Or what would you need to be most effective for the educational model and for families?
Yeah, that's a good question, Director McVeigh. So in November and December, we put out at the time what we thought was going to be the elementary hybrid model. And that model was, as you just explained, kind of 2 full days and then 3 days off with no live contact with a teacher. And that was some of the feedback that we received from parents and our staff, that they just felt, you know, for a student that maybe was on site Monday and Tuesday, literally going Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday with no, contact with their teacher, live contact with their teacher, was not the best model. And so with that feedback, we regrouped, we worked with teachers, and have developed this model that allows each student that chooses the hybrid model to either be on site for a portion of their day and or receive live synchronous instruction online during the day. And so that was the reason for the shift.
Thank you. And I just want to publicly say thank you for indulging me. I know you guys have heard all the horror stories, but there was another suicide across the river yesterday. And this is just really tough stuff.
Tori, you had a second part to that question. I feel like I haven't answered.
Yeah.
Did you have a second part to your question?
Yeah. Do you think we're fluid enough to make changes to recommendations once we learn more?
Yeah, the recommendations tonight, that should you take action on them and they're approved, they don't speak specifically to the exact model. When we say hybrid model, that's partly online and partly in person. Yeah, I could see us definitely making, adjustments to that as we learn and roll this out. Obviously, we've never done this before. So, I definitely see that could be a possibility moving forward for sure.
Director Benaloga or Director Perez, do you have anything?
Yes, I do, Chair Ford. I just have a couple of questions. Am I understanding, Superintendent, correctly that LIPI is going to continue even after hybrid starts?
That is correct. At the middle school and high school level, we'll continue to bring in at the middle school 6th graders and work on those transition activities with them. And then in the short term, continuing with seniors at the high school level. And I would expect some additional opportunities to roll out over the coming weeks regarding maybe some activities, clubs, et cetera.
All right, and then how are the kids going to their homeschool? They're going to their home building? Okay.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. And then how many were invited? I mean, was there a cap? Obviously there's a cap because there's somewhat of a cap to the cohorting is 20. But was there a building cap? How did we come up with those numbers?
For those details, I'm going to turn it back over to Dr. James.
So what I can tell you is that the elementary, it'll be opened up to all kindergartners that will be returning to hybrid and first graders who have not entered into school. At middle school right now, based on criteria of who needs some additional support, and we have some detailed criteria in there that I can give you if you'd like as well. We have about 406 students that could qualify to come in to Libby on Wednesdays. And so the schools are working to see if they can get all of those students that are interested in coming the opportunity between now and the end of the school year. And at the high school level, we know with the seniors, we have 566 seniors that we could be working with to help support them as well through the end of the school year. So same thing, our schools are working to make sure that all of those students have the opportunity to come in between now and the end of the school year. So starting with students who maybe have the most need or some other things going.
All right, thank you. And then I did have a couple more questions, especially surrounding just the mental health concerns. And we're hearing a lot from our community that, of course, that just the mental health and the physical health of our children is definitely suffering right now. What can we do and what are we doing to really support those kids? And I understand that there's going to need to be different models of support, because we have elementary school kids that are struggling as well, and they're having behavior problems and sleep issues. And so what can we do and what are we doing as a district to address that?
Shay, you want to take that question too, Shay, as you've been in more specific conversations with our level directors?
I am. I think if you're okay with it, Shelley Reggiani would probably be able to give a more thorough answer to folks that a little bit broader than myself. So Shelley, if you're there.
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yep.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Chair, and thank you so much, directors. There have been several things that we have been working on so far this school year, starting from the very beginning of moving to CDL in the fall, when Director Michael Rawls of their social service department, he made sure that the relationships that we have with our social service providers for mental health expanded our mental health services in each of our schools. So all of our students have access to, whether they have private insurance, no insurance, or belong to the Oregon Health Plan for their insurance, have access to mental health services and also a robust counseling service that's available to our students. Students aren't removed from classes, from their synchronous time to have counseling services. Families are also eligible for family services with our mental health providers. And then we also have our student-based health centers at each of our high schools that see students for mental health services. Those will remain in place. Those will continue to be robust as we transition to more in-person opportunities. I would also say that our schools have worked very, very hard with our social emotional learning curriculum and with our TOSA, Marie Claire Wanacott, in making sure that our students have access to supports, not just curriculum, but just the infiltration in the classroom of approaches to learning that address social emotional learning. Because what parents are telling us, what teachers are telling us, and what students are telling us is real. And it's important for us to be able to respond to that in the best way possible, knowing that we can't magically change what is happening with the pandemic, but what we can influence is how we respond. So Director Benaloga, yes, definitely. We're going to continue to work with our counselors who will be right there with our kids, in-person learning, and still accessing students through LIPI, and accessing our students who remain in VOP and also in CDL. And as we continue to more in-person opportunities, we are continuing to expand those. We're so grateful for our partners, and we're grateful to Michael Rawls, who's our Director of Social Services, for continuing to nurture those relationships. The mental health of our students, the social emotional well-being of our students is absolutely critical as we build in-person learning. That's what's important. We heard relationships earlier tonight being a real key foundation as a part of our build for education when we're in person and in CDL. And that is definitely a part of what we're seeing in this return to in-person learning.
All right, thank you. That's a very thorough answer. I appreciate that. And then to kind of piggyback on that, what are we doing for staff as well? I know that there's been some work around wellness and mental health supports. Is there also just professional development, understanding? more about really seeing what's happening with their kids and really getting a sense for what's happening with their kids in the CDL? And then what are we doing to support the staff just for their social and emotional well-being?
No, that's a beautiful question. I think that two things that I would add to that: the professional development that we provide to all of our staff about having grace for oneself and taking care of oneself. When you show up as your best self as a staff member, as a teacher, then you're the best person in front of the children. And that's really important. And then reaching out to your support system within your own network and within your school. We also have an amazing person in our district that you know, Megan Lee, who on a regular basis is communicating with all of our staff on opportunities for getting together, maintaining a social network, even in a distance work environment, and then focusing on the mental health and well-being of our staff. In addition to that, the professional development that we provide our teachers when we meet regularly at staff meetings, and then our scheduled professional development often focuses on the way that we engage students, which is all about connections and relationship, which is the underpinnings of all of those components of social emotional well-being.
Well, thank you so much. And I want to just thank the executive team and everyone that's working so hard to get our kids back into the classroom. I think it's really important. One last thing, and this is probably more for Superintendent Utterback, is there any fluidity and flexibility in that timeline? I know that our families are going to be, although many families are okay and their kids are doing well or okay in CDL, but is there any fluidity in the timeline? Just because it does seem like, especially for the high school, it's far away. It's a couple months down the road. Is there any possibility that that could happen sooner?
Yeah, it's a great question. Those timelines are based on two factors. One is vaccine availability for our staff and ensuring that they have the opportunity to be fully immunized. And as you heard from our chief of staff earlier tonight, that wave 4, which is high school teachers and support staff, has just started getting their vaccines. And many still don't have an appointment yet. And so by the time that they get their first shot, 3 weeks in between, they get their second shot, and then they're fully immunized shortly thereafter. We're looking at 5 to 6 weeks, and so we just need to make sure that that's if they probably started getting immunized this week, and that's not going to happen. And so we believe by that April 26th start date that we should have our secondary staff. Those that want to be vaccinated should all have had the opportunity to be vaccinated by that point, is our hope. The other piece with that date for the middle school and high school level is that is the end of our third quarter, or really it's the end of the half of second semester. And so kids are going to switch teachers at that point. And so it really is a natural spot in our schedule. Given the fact that students will be finishing at high school level 4 graded periods with a teacher and shifting to a whole new quarter, essentially with many new teachers, it's the appropriate time to do that shift.
All right, excellent. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for all the work that you're doing, and we appreciate you. Thank you.
Director Perez, do you have anything?
Yes, Chair Ford. One question and then one comment. Question is, thank you, Director Way and Director Benaloga, because I was going to ask about additional supports and resources to address social emotional needs. So my question is, Superintendent, are we able to, I don't even know if we can do it now, just post some of the services that you mentioned that the Family Support Center has, hours of operation, phone numbers, or if we can send something out again as soon as possible. And also for our staff as well. Director Benaloga mentioned our staff. And COVID-19 has had a major effect on all of us, on all of our lives. And I know for me, working in the medical arena for so long, this has really brought back a lot for me. In that I know many years ago, working in the emergency room, I had to try and resuscitate a 3-year-old. And to this day, I still see his eyes lying there still, and with a blank stare, and the mom there by his side, asking for him to come back to her. And as it turns out, this mom had no insurance, and she did not bring this child in who had a flu and cough and a sore throat because she had no insurance. And this child, he died, and I still see him on that table today. And so to have a virus pandemic and something we've never seen in our lifetime, and to happen to be during peak time, and to know that there's variants out there coming, new variants showing up in Northeast USA, more infectious, more deadly. I don't want to see anyone's child. I don't want to see another 3-year-old child, another 10-year-old child, 12-year-old child having to resuscitate them. And to think we have 70,000 plus students in our school district. This has been very hard for our entire board, for our staff, our teachers, our superintendent, everybody involved. So know that I think I'm done, Chair. I'm good.
I will pick up where Director Perez was going. I think that it's really important that we acknowledge, as many of the directors have already, this has been hard work. We appreciate the staff that has taken the time to try to figure out what we can and can't do and present it to us in the way that we can digest it and understand it. I think that it's important for us to all acknowledge just how difficult it is. In isolation, we talk about specificity and these specific examples that make us all just pause and think there's got to be more that we can do. At the same time, there's just many dynamic pieces that we're required to be in compliance with. At this time, we're moving as swiftly as we humanly can. We're moving this up on purpose so that the team can continue to do the work that they need to do without the board being a hindrance to that work happening now. I don't think that we can answer every single child's needs with just this model. It requires a marriage between the staff, the board, and the community. Maybe we need to communicate better. Maybe we need to do a lot of things differently. But the isolation of what you need versus reopening the schools needs to be very clear. At this juncture, we are currently discussing the opportunity of being outside of what we have control over, giving full permission to the team to do what they need to do within the guidelines that we've been given and with fluidity. I don't think that every child will be touched. Unfortunately, this system has never done that. Never. And that is not an excuse, nor is it permission. But I will say this, there is an energy amongst the community that I love. And if we can keep that energy up and move forward, and correct a system that has been broken since 1647, I think we could find an answer for every kid. This is only the beginning. It is not the end. This is not a terminal decision. It is an opportunity. And so if we all can embrace the opportunity, I think we can start moving towards what everyone is asking us to do. So at this time, we have heard questions, we have a motion on the table, and we have a second. I'm going to do a roll call. Please give me your vote. Director Perez.
Aye.
Director Benaloga.
Aye.
Director McVeigh.
Aye.
Director Way.
Aye.
Director Bauer.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. So with the 6 board members that are currently here, we are giving full permission to the superintendent and his team to move forward outside of any limitations that we have put on you. You are now free to do what you have been given guidelines to do. I hope the community can hear that loud and clear. We have not decided to wait until March 11th. It is done now. That is what you have asked for. You have now received. So now we all have to continue to work to get us to another level, to fix wrongs that have been wronged in this community for decades. But we can only do that together. All right, moving along. Next thing on our agenda is our school calendar 2021 and 2022. Super excited to see the alignment of all the grade levels. I appreciate it so much. Oh my God. Okay, who's presenting? Tiffany, what you got for us?
Hi, good evening. Tonight I am bringing forward school calendars for next school year for your discussion. This is a discussion moment. Per board policy, school board must approve the school year calendars. These calendars reflect a full school year. They meet employee contract commitments and meet instructional hour requirements. A couple of things about these proposed calendars is you'll notice many similarities within recent past years. There are a few things to note with these proposed calendars. One is prior to the current school year, elementary schools used to function on a trimester system, while high schools and middle schools functioned on quarter system, semester system. And high schools had only one parent-teacher conference each school year in the past. And at the same time, middle school and elementary had 2. So during the current school year, we aligned those things such that all 3 levels were on a quarter and semester system. We also aligned conferences to 2 days. These proposed calendars maintain those modifications and maintain that alignment between the levels. They're not entirely aligned. Elementary does have additional planning and work days. This is not new. This has been a feature in the North Clackamas School District calendar for many years, but did want you to know that the certified calendars are much more aligned than they have been in the past. We're thankful to our labor associations. We're thankful to all of our administrative team and the folks who have worked to really bring this together. It is one of the fruits of the work over the last year to get deep into the details, and is one of those fruits of change. Our levels directors and I are available for any questions.
Okay, well, I appreciate that fruit of change. I think it was one of the first requests I had as a new board member was, man, get it lined up. I can't take it anymore. So appreciate the work of all the alphabet soup teams. I appreciate you guys. All right, board, anybody have any comments or questions regarding the calendar? This is a discussion item at this point. You guys are discussed out. I love you guys. All right, we'll bring it back. What is it coming back March 11th?
It will, and we'll come back at that time for your approval, and our team will go to work on student calendars in multiple languages, drafts, and so on. Obviously, you still have action to take. We will start that work behind the scenes so that pending your action, families can receive that information right away.
Okay, excellent. Thank you for that. Appreciate it. Next thing on the agenda is Elementary and Secondary School Relief Fund, ESSER2. I'm sure that you guys probably call it something different than calling out all the acronyms. Grant approval. This is an action item. Galen, are you ready for us?
I'm ready. Good evening, board. Tonight, I am going to ask that you approve the superintendent's recommendation to apply for, appropriate, and expend the Elementary and Secondary School Emergency Relief Fund, also known as ESSER2, for those grant funds in the amount of, I have a very specific amount listed there. That is what is listed on the ODE website. However, they haven't released any funds yet, but it would be approximately $7.6 million. And we have listed expenditure categories as broad categories that we will expend the monies in. There may be some things that overlap or fall slightly outside of some of these, but charter school distribution is a requirement. Chromebook replacement, hotspots. We know that we have had library and textbook loss. We will be looking at virtual online programs, teachers, and continuing an online program, and ventilation improvements, as well as limited in-person instruction.
Excellent. I'd also like to just repeat what was just said. So we want to use the approximate number just so we're not stuck with any number if you decide to make the motion. In addition to that, to the community, please hang on and listen to the next couple of action items because these are actually new funds, good funds, give us some good stuff for the community. So you may want to stick around and hear some good news. All right, floor is open for a motion. Anyone entertained to do that?
Chair Ford, I move the superintendent's recommendation, board approved staff to apply for, appropriate, and expend Elementary and Secondary School Relief Fund, ESSER2 grant funds.
And properly moved. Do I have a second?
A second.
Excellent. Been properly moved in second. Any more discussion needed?
Chair Ford, I just have a quick question. So the internet connectivity, I know that has been a big issue, and particularly just with fires last year and winter storm, and a lot of families still struggling with power and internet issues. Galen, can you explain a little bit about what that internet connectivity expenditure category would look like and how you feel like families would benefit from that?
Yes, one of the things that we're looking to do is to continue the hotspots through this next year for families that still need them. We're also looking at other ways to connect our families. One of the things that the state as a whole is looking at is expanding the grid, specifically for those areas where it is not strong. I think this last weather event has shown where we do have some weak spots in our internet connectivity, and the state is looking at that as a whole, as well as I know that Derek has some plans for what we would be able to do. I'm not sure exactly what those are, but and I don't know if he's here, but he may be able to speak to that.
Derek, go ahead.
I'm here.
There you
good
are.
Evening. Yeah, good evening, everyone. Galen is absolutely correct. We are looking at gaps. So every family that has requested a hotspot, we have fulfilled. So that is the good news. We had one offering, which was T-Mobile. We added a second, and now we have Verizon. So what we do now when someone has coverage issues is we swap the devices to ensure that they have coverage. There are still some areas where those hotspots, because it does operate off of a cell phone, And so if you have poor cell coverage, then you will also have poor hotspot coverage. We are waiting on the state to make some decisions, as Galen mentioned, to help us reach those areas, but that will include having fiber. It'll be a dig and it'll be a long haul. So it's not going to be immediate relief, but it is something to look forward to.
Thank you so much. And yeah, I specifically wanted to call that out just because I'm just thinking about all of the multiple stressors, right? That like families, students are struggling with. And I just know for me, you know, we were without internet for 4 days. And, you know, I mean, we have resources. And so, you know, I had my cell phone and I was able to somewhat get on internet, you know, but families may not have additional resources or who are already sharing, you know, multiple devices. Like that's just an additional stressor that, you know, people are dealing with and really struggling with. So that's why I just wanted to highlight that and ask a specific question. But I'm glad that that is included as a part of additional money by ODE through these funds. So thank you.
Excellent. Thank you for that, Director McVeigh. Anyone else have any questions? Comments? Okay. Go ahead and do a roll call for a vote, please. Director Perez?
Aye.
Director Benaluga?
Aye.
Director McVeigh?
Aye.
Director Way?
Aye.
Director Bauer?
Aye.
And I'm also aye, 6 out of 7 with the present directors today. Thank you guys for that. Next thing that we have is, sorry, my agenda just disappeared on me. There we go. The technology Chromebook lease agreement. This is also an action item. Derek, you are back up.
Good evening, Board Chair Ford, Vice Chair Bauer, members of the board, and Superintendent Utterback. I am super pleased to present my first agenda item as your Executive Director of Technology. This is our first lease agreement for technology Chromebooks. It's a 4-year refresh or replacement plan that will allow us to begin creating predictable IT inventory and assets with support, service, and a budget. We will be able to maintain a sustainable and scalable environment. We will develop equity of devices for all students with a strategy to support ongoing digital instruction, all needs, requirements, and impact learning outcomes. I recommend that the Board of Education approve this agenda item to lease 5,700 Acer Chromebooks utilizing the board-adopted cooperative purchasing rules at a cost of $1,972,314 for students to access comprehensive distance learning, online curriculum, and instructional tools. And the reason for this consideration is we have approximately 8,900 Chromebooks that will be surplus this summer, meaning they are at their end of life. The operating systems aren't updated, they're not in compliance, very long in the tooth, and so we need to exchange them. We've purchased several thousand in 2020. This last 5,700 will get us whole so that we have a complete replacement of the 8,900. And it will be utilizing the ESSER II elementary and secondary school emergency relief funds. And I am just super excited of what this will bring in terms of sustainability, equity. These are the latest and greatest of devices. When we bought Chromebooks in the past, we didn't know that we were going to be using them for video conferencing and Google Meets. These devices are touchscreen, meet those requirements, and I'm excited of what this will do to engage our learners and not be disruptive for students and families. This concludes my agenda item, and I ask for your approval. Are there any questions?
Yeah, Director McVeigh.
No question. I just want to thank Derek for bringing us forward. And I'm so excited to have a predictable replacement process going forward. Technology only gets faster, better. And with that, we need new machines. And without having this process in place, we were always behind the 8 ball because the number was too big. And too scary for us to take on replacement. And this will get us started. It's not going to be an end game. This is just getting us started in replacement of these devices. So thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Good stuff. I'll open the floor for a motion.
Motion to approve.
Oh, you guys are in synchronous.
All right, motion to approve the superintendent's recommendation, approve using the board adopted competitive cooperative purchasing rules for the leasing of $1,972,314 in student Chromebooks to support students in accessing comprehensive distance learning, online curriculum, and instructional tools.
Second.
Excellent, properly moved in the second. Any additional discussion needed or questions? Okay, seeing none, I just have one question. This gets us close to a one-to-one model, correct?
The good news, Chair Ford, is we are one-to-one. We have enough devices for all students. What this does is creates equity. We have devices right now, as you hear from our parents and our families, that aren't working. We're causing disruption because the technology is obsolete. It's out of compliance. So this gets us whole in terms of being able to provide robust, efficient operating systems with support in warranty and reliability more than anything else.
So basically what I'm hearing is that this is an efficient one-to-one, which needs to be now a question when someone says I'm a one-to-one model in a school district. Are you efficient?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely. Right. I appreciate that. I'm excited for our students. I think they all deserve that. And little do we know, not only does it affect the kid, it affects the family. Many families don't have any devices in their household. They have no access to these worlds without it. And so it's a good thing. All right, y'all, let's go ahead and do a vote. Director Perez.
Aye.
Director Benaloga.
Aye.
Director McVeigh.
Aye.
Director Way.
Aye.
Director Bauer.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye, 6 out of 7 for our participating directors. Next thing on the agenda is our construction bid award transportation shop. Ron Stewart, it's been a long time, my friend. Yes, and it's a late night just for you.
I do appreciate being last on the agenda. I can't tell you how much. We're asking the board to approve awarding a bus maintenance shop construction contract to GSI for a total award not to exceed $4,255,495.
Well, that's kind of easy. I'll open the floor for a motion. Anyone ready to do that?
I move to approve awarding the bus maintenance shop construction contract to GSI Inc. for a total award not to exceed the amount of $4,255,495.
Properly moved. Do I have a second?
Bowers, second.
And properly moved in second. Any questions for Mr. Stewart? Yes, Director Bauer.
Yeah, I just had one, and Ron, they always save the best to last, right?
They do.
Yes. My question was, I hadn't heard of GSI. You said we haven't used them before. Where are they located?
I don't remember where they're located. They are in Oregon.
They are. Okay. I did try to Google. I just thought I hadn't heard of them, and I couldn't get them to pop up. But you interviewed, went through all of the usual.
We actually went a little bit further with this company. It is a emerging small business. It is a minority business. It is a woman-owned business. And they are a family business that start off with grandpa to dad to son, and mom's involved. And so yes, it's a combination of people they put together in a company that was an offshoot of the grandfather's company. So it's been renamed and repackaged.
Thank you. Maybe they, haven't spent too much on their a website or something. So that's great. Thank you for the additional information.
They actually do have a really great website with a lot of great information that talks about their goals of diversity, inclusion, equity, advancing racial equity, and community involvement. It might be under the GSI Builders Inc., but GSI Inc. is what they go by.
I did see that, but I didn't realize that was the same one. Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Okay, seeing none, are we ready to vote? Okay, Director Perez.
Aye.
Director Benaloga.
Aye.
Director McVeigh.
Aye.
Director Way.
Aye.
Director Bauer.
Aye.
And I'm also an aye. 6 out of 7 in participating group have voted aye. See the passion of our directors, even when it's not always what we all want to hear. The purpose, I think we all have the same purpose here, and that is for the kids to get the best out of life and possibility. Every time we overcome a moment of misunderstanding, we have more and more possibility, and that's just another opportunity for our kids to win. Thank you for your time, board. I know you put in a lot of energy and time. I appreciate each one of y'all. Thank you to the team at North Clackamas. Thank you, Superintendent. Thank you to the community. We have done it again. You guys get some rest. Meeting adjourned at 9:21. Bye, guys.
Hey, thanks, Chair.